Businesses Businesses all across the planet are looking to make connections with people. Well, guess what? Divine Connections magazine is helping businesses not only walk in their purpose and passion, but to get connected to their potential. That's right. You've got to connect to your potential, and you can make it happen now because it is time to know your worth. As you get connected to people all across the planet, Divine Connections magazine will make it happen. And get featured in the magazine today and get your copy now, because there's no other time than a divine time to get connected to Divine Connections magazine.
Hey everybody, there is still time to grab your copy of Surviving Tough Times. I need your thoughts. Together my thoughts and your thoughts become our thoughts, so we can march towards a oneness that allows everyone to be understood. That's the plan, ensuring that our children's children's children will live hand in hand. So grab your copy today at Amazon.com or visit us at www.misunderstooda.com. That's www.misunderstooda.com.
Terrell Goodman is the CEO of TS&F Consultant and Management, LLC, a veteran-owned and operated family business that offers professional services for veterans. This company operates with a group of associate members with an average of 38 years of hands-on experience in their respective professions. They are committed to the highest principles, standards, and values to assure each client's success. To find out more, contact TS&F Consultant and Management, LLC today. Just call 877-365-0817, extension 104.
Great day, everyone. This is Dolores Williams with Divine Connections. Divine Connections magazine is a faith-based and inspirational magazine that comes out quarterly in print as well as online. And so I am so excited that we are here. We have special guests. So we will see and connect with them very soon. But let's first go over some Divine Connections news. In order to be in the next issue that will come out, and that'll be the last issue for the year, make sure you email me at divineconnectionsmagazine@gmail.com, and I will see how you can be a part of the next issue. Next, you can join our email list at divineconnectionsmagazine.com. And you can also go to our Facebook page at Divine Connections Marketing. Make sure you like that page. We are also on Instagram at Divine Connections, and that's one word. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Divine Connections. And make sure you click the notification button there as well. If you would like to order our magazine that came out this quarter, this is the cover. You can go to Divine Connections Magazine at gmail.com. All right, and get your copy. Is digital or in print, and get you a copy of our current quarterly issue of Divine Connections Magazine by going to divineconnectionsmagazine.com/subscriptions. Next on our agenda, if you would like to be a sponsor on the show, this show comes out on at Wednesdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on every Wednesday, where we connect great people that's making it happen and share with you what they are doing in the community. And so if you would like to be a sponsor, we take in 30-second commercials before and after the show. It will be on the show, and we're doing a 3-month agreement. So if you would like to be a sponsor, that's $150 for your 30-second commercial to be on Divine Connections Internet show, and it will be placed before or after the interview. So you can email Divine Connections Magazine at gmail.com if you are interested in being a sponsor. Next, we have our event that's coming up, Divine Connections Pop-Up. All right, so that's going to be Saturday, October 23rd, and that's going to be at the Mebbins Art Center in Mebane, North Carolina, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There are going to be praise stands, there are going to be mimes, and there are going to be vendors. We're going to network and worship together. We're going to support other small businesses and be blessed by various ministries of praise dance and mimes. So I have one more spot in praise dance and one more spot in Amman. So if you'd like to be a part, let me know. That registration is $25 to be a participant. All right. And then vendors, I also have a discount portion for you as well. So if you're interested, just text 336-338-8903. And the great information is the event itself is free to the public. So you simply go to bit.ly/free OCT 23 events. All right. And just register, and it's free to attend. And we look forward for you coming because we want you to support the small businesses and enjoy the ministries. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And so we just have a couple of more announcements. So if you need a 30-second or a 60-second commercial for your business, for your ministry, for your book, or your gospel group, we do those as well. That's a service that we provide. Make sure you email Divine Connections Magazine at gmail.com. I am honored to have been nominated for Media Publication of the Year with Dunamis Gospel Awards. So if you would, I would love to have your vote. It is unlimited, and we only have 2 days left. So it ends October the 8th. So go to the website, dunamisgospelawards.org. Click on the red button that says vote here. Click on somebody in every category, because you have to do that in order for that vote to count. Be a blessing to somebody, even if you don't know them. But when you get down to Media Publication of the Year, click on Divine Connections and do that for the next couple of days. And it is unlimited. And I will greatly appreciate your vote. Okay. And last but not least, I'm so excited. My new book just came out called The Key Connector, How to Build an Empire Helping People. So go check it out. You can get the digital copy or the hard copy. And I share great information about things that I do to make what I do happen with the help of the Lord. And I love the cover has the key with faith on it, because I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, and I have to have faith in God in order to do those things. So make sure you get your copy of my new book, The Key Connector, How to Build an Empire Helping People. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so that is Divine Connections news. Next, I want to share with you a little bit about our guest that's coming up. So we're going to put on a video to share just a little bit about them, and then we're going to bring them on.
Hey, Dad, how you doing? Do you have a minute? You know, this miracle thing, we got blind people seeing, we got lame people walking. Lazarus's family, they are thrilled. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you let me hang out here, I don't know, a couple more years. You know, I'm 33, 35. By the way, a year is a day in your eyes. So I'm really asking you for a couple days. And I'll tell you what we do. Let's say we heal, I don't know, 10 people every morning, 10 people every afternoon, 20 people a day, 6 days a week. You do the math. Think how many people will be spreading your love, your light, and your truth. Can you just give me a couple more years?
The time is now.
So he leaves, and he finds him sleeping. So he comes back. Hey, Dad, how about this? The fall. Think about it. Everything's dying in the fall anyway. If you just give me the summer, I think I can work with the boys. You know, they're not getting this. They think this is going to be a victory of flesh, a stabbing and killing. You and I know this is about the spirit. So if you give me the summer, I think I can work on them.
It must be in the spring, because it represents a new beginning.
So he leaves, and he finds him sleeping. So he comes back for one more shot. Hey, Pops, I got it. Monday. You know, nobody likes Monday. If you just give me the weekend.
I'm going to call it Good Friday.
Oh, Dad, you thought of everything. Thy will be done.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So will you help me welcome Susan and Phil Sorentino? How are you guys?
We are blessed.
Yes, very.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. I've connected with them through this awesome organization from ATS, and actually, Mr. Antonio Smith, who is the cover of the magazine, is our connection. So the cover, yes, Mr. Antonio. So that's how we connected. So introduce yourself. We'll start off with Miss Susan Sorrentino, and then we'll go to Mr. Phil. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, I'm Susan Bolt Sorrentino. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really just a small town girl from Southern Ohio, Waverly, Ohio. I was brought up in the 60s. It was a beautiful time, very wholesome time. We still, our parents were raised by the greatest generation who, unfortunately, there's not too many left these days. And so I had that opportunity to learn from my parents and had just a very nice childhood. It kind of started out, and I didn't realize until we were writing our book and they were digging things deeply out of us
Yeah.
that actually, my family's from Massachusetts, Cape Cod. My mom's
Mm-hmm.
one of 11 children, um, and Irish. So she's one of 11, and her grandfather grew up on Martha's Vineyard, and he was an only child. My grandmother, at the age of 17, came over on the boat from Ireland, the only one. Her family sent her during the potato famine to kind of go to America and lead the way for the rest of the family so that they could survive during those times. So she lived with an uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and she actually was like a maid to a family, and so she would be walking back and forth, and she was at her going to her piano lesson when my grandfather, who was in college at Harvard, ran into her, and he inquired about her with her uncle and asked for a time to come meet her. So she came to the house and they fell in love and had 11 children. And my mom was the third. So, they had a beautiful life in Massachusetts and had three little boys. And then she was pregnant with me. So during her pregnancy, my dad's father down in southern Kentucky was shot and killed in the back.
Mm. Oh
Um,
wow.
he he had been teaching school at Moorhead College and had retired and was a coal mine inspector. So one of the coal miners, disgruntled, came back and asked why they had been let go. And so my father came outside, my grandfather came outside and explained to him, and then walked away, and he was shot in the back. Well, that was a
Mm.
disruption in our family's life. They uprooted the family from Massachusetts and my mom's family and went to Kentucky, and that's where I was born. So even in the womb there was a disruption that I wasn't
Mm.
aware of. So growing up, I was, the youngest and the only girl, and very shy and quiet, but
Yeah.
I had, struggles. I had an undiagnosed autoimmune disease, which back in the 60s, that wasn't even a term. I had psoriasis from head to toe.
Mm.
It was everywhere on my body except on my hands and face. So I could cover it all up. And it was very, very, very painful. I was wrapped in saran wrap every night. I
Mm.
had, they with tar. I would take mud baths in tar, and they would rub the tar all over me. That was the only thing they knew. And I had severe stomach problems. So I was in the hospital. They didn't know what to do. So I carried around Maalox with me everywhere I went. And I just felt like a leper. So
Mm.
here I was, this cute little girl with ringlets, but
Mhm.
underneath, hidden the pain that I had. And so I didn't get involved in things. I didn't get involved in sports. And it wasn't until high school that I became a majorette through my brother's girlfriend who taught twirling. So I I engaged in that, ended up being the head majorette and feature twirler, twirled fire and all kinds of things. But it brought me out of that, and I was getting over the autoimmune disease at the same time. I ended up being a leader, and I learned systems. I would go to the band director, listen to the music, and create the show for the halftime show. So I
Wow.
was doing this and teaching everyone this. So my leadership skills came out at that time. I went on to college and Moorhead State University, where my grandfather taught, and ended up going into business. And it was really a great experience because they had a wonderful business program. And this is in the 70s, 1973, 74. That's when there was just the large mainframe computers that took up a whole building, a whole floor of a building. And so there was no technology. There was, no websites, no way, it was put something in the mail and wait for it to arrive. So I was chosen. We were putting on a mock convention and in our class. So I was chosen with this little tiny contraption, which was the beginnings of a desktop computer. So I was the one chosen to learn how to use that and use that with our mock registration and all the things that we were doing. And I learned computers before they had the small computers. So that was a great beginning for me. So I ended up, going after I graduated, working with different companies. I had to go back to Cape Cod. Something drew me there that I was supposed to be there because that's where I was supposed to have been born. So I went and I worked for a tech company. This was actually a pharmaceutical company that took horseshoe crabs and they drew the blood from them. They had blue blood and they used it for testing of pharmaceutical products, which replaced the rabbit test. They went international within a year, and I computerized the whole company. These are the same people that developed the COVID vaccine today. And so I put the whole company on computer, and all around the world, we had people, Pfizer and all the top pharmaceutical companies. So I was working there and had a great career going. Unfortunately, I was young, and the CEO of the company was an older man and made me feel uncomfortable. We'll just put it that way. Of course, back then I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to do it, how to say anything or tell anybody. So I just said, I want to go home. And I never to this day told my parents. They are long past. So I went home and I was hearing, you need to meet this guy. Phil was in town selling bank stock. And people were putting us together. Oh, you need to meet this girl, Susan Bolt. And you need to meet this guy, Phil Sorentino. Well, who is this guy? Well, I was wondering who he was, but that was about it. Well, that weekend, I went to a party at Lake White, which is where it was happening in our small town. And I went to a party at a judge's house and with my brother, and we walked around to the back onto the screen patio, and there was Phil, and he had these penetrating green eyes. And I said to my brother, who is that? He said, well, that's Phil Sorrentino. I said, oh my gosh. He said, well, let me introduce you. He introduced us, and it was really love at first sight. I didn't speak to another person the rest of the night. We actually went out and sat out on the boat. And so that's how it all began. Phil, you want to take it away from there?
Awesome. Yeah, I want to hear his side too. Go ahead, Mr. Phil.
Well, do you want to know my background first?
Yes.
Well, first of all, I didn't become Italian until I was 20 days old.
Okay.
I was adopted.
Okay.
That's when I became Italian. That's when I made my first sale, was 20 days. It was all eye contact and body language. But my dear Sicilian mother said she picked the one next to me and they gave her the wrong baby. Buyer's remorse. I get a call about 20 years ago. Is this Phil Sorentino? Yes. Were you born August 1st, 1951? Yes. We're with Reunite. We put adopted families together. You have a sister that wants to talk to you. Are you interested? I said, well, Cheers is starting. Can I call you back? That's exactly what I said. I found out I'm one of 7 kids on my biological mother's side.
Wow.
I'm her third by the time she was 18 by 3 different guys. Mother. Well, now I know where I get my sex drive. I get my biological mom on the phone for the first time in my life. I said, Mom, I've always teased I was conceived in the back seat of a Buick. She says, I really don't remember what kind of car it was, but it was the back seat. Then I had my adopted sister was 5 and I was 2. She died when I was 2. My adopted father died when I was 6, 3 days after Christmas. My adopted mother got into alcohol and suicide attempts when I was 9, so I have no abandonment issues. I'm ADD and dyslexic, so the nuns and I got along swimmingly well. I had a nun in the 4th grade whack me in the back of the head with a music book. I turned around, she said, that's for everything I've never caught you doing. So I turned around and said, well, you better hit me again because you're missing a lot. And she whacked me a second time. I started work when I was 11, shoveling snow, cutting grass, selling popcorn at the Ohio State football stadium, just realizing I had no grandfathers. So literally I had 3 Italian women say, you're the man of the house. Really? I'm only 7. Okay, I'll do my best. No pressure there. So I got into the restaurant business. I started cleaning toilets for 80 cents an hour when I was 14. I ended up being a swing manager for a chain of quick service restaurants back in those days. Then I got into the securities business, and that's when I ran into Susan selling bank stock. I had my own investment company doing markets and independent banks. But for some reason, I started speaking to high school students for free because I believe they weren't being taught what I called living skills. They weren't being taught about goal setting, about discipline is the price we pay for our freedom, about how do you make a good decision, you know, how do you stay positive. They were teaching us how to bisect the hypotenuse of a right triangle. I wasn't doing that. So from the age of 22 to 28, I spoke to high school students. I spoke to students for free. And I spoke about sex, drugs, and money, and I knew about 2 of them. Then the president of a bank in Mount Vernon, Ohio, calls me up and says, Phil, I hear you speak. Will you charge? I'm like, charge? What a great idea. So I said $25. He said, great. And I went, ooh, I should have said 30. So, I mean, I was 27 years old and people were paying me to talk, which for me, I thought I died went to heaven. Because the kids I went to high school with, they go, Sorrentino, they pay you to talk? I go, yeah. They said, man, we were willing to pay you to shut up. I said, let's see who was right. So as I was selling the bank stock, that's where I met Susan. And then with her administration, she's the type B left brainer, cross the T's, dot the I's. You know, her maiden name is Bolt. So she's the Bolt and I'm the nut. And the nut's no good without a bolt and the bolt's no good without a nut. So that's why in 1981, we started Humor Consultants together with her being the back of the heart of the house and me being the front of the house.
And
that's
then
my story, and I'm sticking with it.
And so he has spoken in every state except Vermont and North Dakota. So we have outside the country, inside the country, and we really grew the business organically. We focused our business on Central Ohio, but because, you know, people would hear, they would suggest us to other organizations or not other chapters. So we ended up all over the country. I mean, Phil was very well known in Central Ohio, and we received a lot of awards for different things that we did. Top FM station for many years, and he can tell you a little bit about that. But when we co-founded the business in 1981, we actually wanted to get married on the day that we met, which was 7/11. So we got married later on 7/11. And Phil likes to tease and say he actually went to 7-Eleven and asked for their cups, which say, oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. And so we had those at a reception. So, you know, we've always had a lot of fun with everything we do, but we realized we were really kind of consulting, coaching to corporate America. because a lot of the CEOs wanted more. We would go in on multi-year retainers and work with companies and work with their teams. So we coined the word coach, which is part consulting, part coach. And we started doing that pretty soon. And we did that together as a team because I love working one-on-one with people. And I'm not the big stage speaker like Phil is. That's not me. Now I speak at women's organizations, and I joined many women's organizations and built many friendships and business that way for humor consultants. But with our coaching, part consulting, part coaching, we really worked well together, helping individuals, whether it was entrepreneurs, small business owners, those, just needing even just individual advice. We've done a lot in that area, and that's what we really focus on today. Our system's called Work Smart, Have Fun, and Make Money. And Phil can go into that a little bit more if you want, Phil.
We define humor. We got the definition for our sense of humor from our son's kindergarten teacher. Chad was in kindergarten, and yes, we have a Chad. He's not a hanging Chad. He's not a dimple Chad. He's not a ripped Chad. He's not a pregnant Chad. He's Baghdad Chad. He's done 2 tours of Iraq. He was a drill sergeant for 2 years. He was in charge of the SWAT team at Fort Knox, and currently he is a master sergeant, and he's in charge of the security detail for the 2nd female 4-star general in the Army down in Miami. How cool is that? So I think it's kind of ironic that the humor consultants created a drill sergeant. But Chad was in kindergarten. They were talking about your 5 senses. So Chad raised his hand. He said, "What about your 6th sense?" And the teacher said, "Your 6th sense?" And Chad said, "Yeah, your ability to read other people's minds." In the parent-teacher conference, I went, "Yes." A tear formed in my eye. I turned to Susan. I said, "He can't clean his room, but he's got this one right." But if anybody's ever read Think and Grow Rich, there's a whole chapter in there called Your 6th Sense. So he obviously was paying attention to us. But she was a great teacher.
Yeah.
She said, "Chad, what about your 7th sense?" And the teacher said, "Your 7th sense?" Chad said, "Your 7th sense." And the teacher said, "Yeah, your sense of humor." So if we can agree that your sense of humor is your sense of perspective, then it's the combination, it's the distillation, it's a result of all the information that you process through your other 6 senses. So your sense of humor ends up being your attitude. And don't we see people with attitudes? To quote my great late friend, E. Larry Mills from Lima, Ohio, he says, "I see people walking around looking like they were weaned on a pickle." They got these attitudes.
Correct.
Well, where do you get your attitudes? Between birth and 13, and many of those are not a very pleasant experience. But wherever you are in life, somebody's had it worse and made it.
That's right.
And somebody's had it better and blown it.
That's good. I love it. I love it. I love it. So they talked about how they met, what they do, the business, how they built it together, and they are growing strong. And I love to hear the stories. They had challenges throughout their life, but they learned to overcome them as well. And so I'm grateful for that. And now they have a business. And how can people get connected to your business again? I'll put out the website, but share exactly again what you do with the business and how people can connect with it.
Well, if they're interested in hiring us to speak, you can go to our website at humorconsultants.com. We have a thing called your questions for customizing your endurable solutions. They can fill that out and it'll come to us and we'll look at it and contact them and find out a little bit more and see if we're a fit. And then for our coaching, we do a 15-minute analysis and see if we're a fit. So they can contact us, go to our website, and all of our information is there. So anything else you want to add for that?
Well, we're willing to talk to anybody and help them in any way that we can. And if we think there's a fit, a win-win situation, we'll figure it out. I mean, that's the way we've run our business. I mean,
Yeah.
and there were challenges. I mean, literally, there were times when we were rolling pennies to put gas in the car that wasn't even ours to get to a speech to tell people how to be successful.
Wow.
Somebody said, "Didn't you feel like hypocrite?" I said, "No, that was cash flow. That had nothing to do with my message." Now, if my message was how to have 100% positive cash flow 100% of the time, sure, I would have been a hypocrite. But part of our message is, how do you deal with tough times? How do you deal with challenges? How do you deal with, see, if it's not, I read something the other day, if it's not the last chapter of the book, if failure is not a failure, it's just a plot change. Failure is not a failure, it's just a plot change. And I just finished reading this book called Soundtracks, and it talks about your own internal talks. You may say to yourself, I don't have any internal talks. Well, that's actually your internal talks. It just told you didn't have any internal talks. So the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the qualities of questions you ask yourself. If you want a better life, you need to ask yourself better questions. And I'll use me as an example. You may say to yourself, why can't I ever get along better with Phil? Well, your brain will answer the question. Your brain will say, Phil's a jerk, he's loud, and he did something to me 6 months ago, and I'm never going to forgive him. You change the question. What can I do to get along better with Phil? Realize he's a jerk, accept that he's loud, and forgive him for what he did to you 6 months ago. Simply by changing the questions you ask yourself, you can change the quality of your life. Now, it's interesting. In this book, they talk about if you have a internal talk, you need to ask yourself these three questions. Number 2, is it true? Because a lot of our internal talks just isn't true.
Right.
We listen to it and react to it. It's not even true. So is it true? The second question, is it helpful? So it can be true, but not helpful. And the third question I think is really good. Is it kind? So listening to your own internal talk, you ask yourself, is what I'm saying to myself true? Is what I'm saying to myself helpful? And was what I'm saying to myself kind? And if it's not, you need to flip it and think another way and react in a difference and be around people that are going to lift you up. Part of our talk's about every day you cleanse and nourish your body, don't you? Good. And you certainly hope the person next to you does. Every day you need to cleanse your mind, and every day you need to cleanse and nourish your spirit. Because we're body, mind, and spirit. So just as you cleanse and nourish your body every day, you need to cleanse and nourish your mind every day. You need to cleanse and nourish your spirit every day. I think because we have a faith-based audience, before every speech, I think of Luke 12:11, which was brought in front of the judge and magistrates, give not thought to the words I speak, let the spirit flow.
Love it.
And the first book I hold up in every speech is the Bible. So you may want to read this from time to time. I've had clients call me up. They says, we want you to come to our group, but could you leave that spirituality stuff and that stuff out? I say, no. They said, why? I said, it's a function of our success formula.
That's right.
And if you leave any function out of a formula, you invalidate the formula. Now, I believe in free will. I believe we all have to find what's best for us in our own journeys. But I'm just sharing you what I've found has worked for me. Now, whether it works for you or not, you got to try it and see.
Right. I love that. Go ahead.
Yes, and with all the presentations we've done, Phil is a very well-known speaker. He's a CSP, which they're Certified Speaking Professional, the National Speakers Association. It's an earned designation. There are only around 700 worldwide. So he shared the stage with Les Brown. We've known Les since the 90s, and a lot of the great speakers we've been blessed to become friends with, learn from each other, and made those connections. That first year, really before we got married, we took everything we had, our money, and went to that convention so that we could learn the business of speaking. And that's what really set us off. And we are the original humor consultants. We were pioneers. We led the way into humor in the workplace. It wasn't anything that was done. And so we've had people literally copy everything word for word from us and, go on. And we've actually trained other speakers to use humor in their work. And so that's really I think, just the best part of the whole thing. And, but we were knocked
We
out of the
believe in
line.
abundance. We believe you cannot give yourself. The universe won't let you. Now, you may give yourself to somebody or something and it doesn't come back from them, but that's okay. It may come back from another source. It doesn't have to come back from where you gave it. And that, when you expect that, then, but where are you? I got a great Les Brown story, by the way. Les was speaking at an insurance company in Texas, right? In Dallas, Texas. And literally, it was the day after he got engaged to Gladys Knight. The day after he got Gladys. So he announces it to the group. He says, by the way, last night I got engaged to Gladys Knight. So when I got back to Columbus, because, Les has a Columbus connection. He was on the radio station in Columbus. He was part of the State House of Representatives in Columbus. So he's got a connection in Columbus. So I called the newspaper. There was a guy that had like a gossip column in the newspaper, and I told him that Les Brown got engaged to Gladys Knight. So the next day in the paper, they announced that. So I announced his engagement to Gladys Knight in Columbus, Ohio, before he could. And we laugh about it today. I said, Les, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I hope I didn't cause any problems with that. I hope that he said, no, Phil, that was fun. It was kind of cool that you did that.
Well, and how we ended up working with Antonio, and we were Antonio T. Smith Jr., and that's how we have met Dolores. And we are on the faculty for the ATSJR. Yes. We are Antonio's mentor, but we met him through the Les Brown Institute that they happened to start down in Fort Lauderdale. Well, we, were knocked out of alignment on New Year's Eve, 2013. I get a call that my mom, I was literally getting ready to get dressed to go out on New Year's Eve with Phil. And we get the call that my mom fell, broke her hip. She was 89. So I immediately booked a flight, jumped on a plane, and never went back. Phil joined me 3 months later. And she lived to 95 and a half. And we were blessed to be able to be with her and take care of her and love her. And it was a beautiful thing. And I mean, it was an honor and a privilege. So while we were there, they started the Les Brown Institute, and it was literally, 5 minutes from our house, and the local people there, and then Les Brown and his family came in. So I was the director of membership services there, and Phil was working there as well. And we, met a lot of people, and that's where Antonio and Phil and I connected, and here we are today. So, get knocked out of alignment, but you find the good in it, and that's what's happened for us, and it's been a real blessing. And we've met, thousands of more people because of it, and that's what it's all about, helping each other. And so now we're
Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love God according to His purpose. And I tell you how weird I think. What could be good about the Christians being eaten by the lions in the Colosseum? You got any ideas? Here's my spin on it. It was God's infomercial. Think about it. These Christians are in the Colosseum praising God. Dear God, we love you. We praise you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. As they're being ripped apart by these lions. And there's tens of thousands of people in the Colosseum looking at them going, man, I got to find out about their God, because I wouldn't be acting like that. They may know something I don't know. Now, secretly, I don't want anybody to catch me finding out, but I need to find out about that God, because I wouldn't be acting like that. So it was actually God's infomercial.
Got it. Tell us about the Marcus Ham assessment.
Oh, yeah. Well, Marcus Buckingham, I've met him a number of times, and he's just a wonderful guy. And he started the Strength Finders revolution. And I tell the story about the frog, the turtle, and the rabbit. The first day of school is swimming. The frog comes home and says, boy, I like school. The turtle comes home and says, school's okay. And the rabbit goes home and says, I hate school. Next day we have jumping. The rabbit comes home and says, school's gotten better. The turtle comes home and I'm confused. And the frog comes home and says, I'm at the top of my class. So what do? We send the turtle to jumping school. We send the rabbit to swimming school. And you say, don't worry about the frog. She gets it. And that's exactly what we should be doing. We should say, okay, the gift of the frog is the great jumper and the swimmer. How can we make them be better at what they're already good at? So Marcus Buckingham started what's called the Strength Finders movement. And I use football as an example because I'm a college football fan. The Ohio State Buckeyes, Kirk Herbstreit actually worked for us between his junior and senior year. If you're a college football fan, I really impressed you. If you're not, you go, who cares? But I use football as the example. We do your strengths. You're a big guy, you can block, you've got good hands, and you're fast. Okay, those are your strengths. Okay, well, where should I put you on the team? What role should I put you in to stand out? Well, that's what the standout assessment does. It analyzes your strengths, and then it goes to the next step. It says, okay, here's the roles you need to be in to stand out. And Marcus, because of the pandemic, is offering it for free to the world. It's his way of giving back. So if you go to marcusbuckingham.com, it's free. You just go ahead and do it. And it prints a 14 to 17 page analysis. And if somebody wants to, they want to email it to me at phil@humorconsultants.com. We'll set a time and I'll go over it because I've gone over hundreds of these, and I see things that people wouldn't see because I've just gone over hundreds of them. And I offer it to your audience that if anybody wants to go over their assessment with me, I'm willing to do that because I think having somebody who's experienced at looking at those gives you a little bit more insight than you just doing it yourself. And it's really fun when couples do it. When you have a contrast that, oh, here's me and here's you. So that's a real fun opportunity too. And let your kids do it. It's real exciting. And the one thing it makes you do, and I think in today's world we need this more than ever, it makes you feel good about you.
Yes. Awesome. I'm going to put the link out. Okay, there it is. And that's definitely a plus. Feeling good about yourself, taking care of yourself makes the world a whole better place because you have to take care of yourself in order to help somebody else. So you want to be at the best place that you can be. And then of course all the positive things that's going on, knowing your strengths is great as well. So I know I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and you used a word in your introduction that I got to tell you a story.
Okay.
I spoke for Timken. The roller bearing company is a big company up in Akron, Ohio. They do roller bearings. They're Timken. They're famous in their space. And the president of Caterpillar followed me.
Okay.
And he came up to me and said, "So, because if I'd have sucked, you would have had to bring him up from the dregs. But because I was good, you were able to take this audience to the next level." He says, "You're right." But his story is amazing. He started sweeping the floor at Caterpillar when he was 17 years old. And he had this good work ethic to the extent that one day in the parking lot, a union member literally put a gun to his head and say, "You're making us look bad because of your work ethic. If you keep it up, I'm going to hurt you." He didn't listen to him. He went on and ran a plant in Cleveland, ran a plant in Japan, started a plant from scratch in Mexico, and came back to the plant where he was sweeping floors with 4,500 employees. Now he's running that plant. And he says, "Okay, let me see the numbers." And he finds out that they were losing a lot of money. Now in his presentation, he mentioned the number. So I called him up and said, "Jim, I'm telling your story. When I got to that place, I mentioned the number." And he stopped me and said, "Phil?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That's kind of an internal number. Could you try not to use that?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Can I say a lot of money?" He says, "Yeah, you can say a lot of money." So they were losing a lot of money. And he said, "We need to find out why." And he started doing this research. And literally, he got it down to one word. Guess what the word is? And you use it in your graphics at the beginning.
Connection?
I have abandonment issues, so I have trouble saying no to people. Maybe. You ready? Worth. How do we get everybody to know how worthy they are?
Yeah.
And how do we get them to bring that worth every day to the organization or to their lives? If we could just get everybody to realize you're worthy, because you're here is a testament that you're worthy. You wouldn't be on this planet if you weren't worthy. Your soul would not got in the body if you weren't worthy. So the fact that you're here means you're worthy.
That's right.
But we don't give ourselves that much credit. And he wrote a book, and A&D, Dignity for All, which tells his story, and he tells how they transferred the major plant in Peoria, Illinois, 4,500 employees into one of the best producing plants on the planet by just focusing on the concept of worth. Isn't that cool?
Yes. Awesome. Well, we're going to end. That's awesome. I love that. We're going to end with some words of encouragement. We'll start with Miss Susan and then we'll end with Mr. Phil.
Well, during these uncertain times, we can either worry and be anxious, or we can seek God to help us. And it reminds me of when I went to Vacation Bible School, that something I really didn't even know much about God or the Bible or anything. That was my first connection. And I had to learn a Bible verse. So I picked something I thought was easy, but you know what? It's been something that I treasure and that I really favorite Bible verse, and that's Matthew 7:7. And that is, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open to you. So just remember that God is there for us and he'll make all things right. And so keep the faith.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Phil, we'll end with you with words of encouragement.
Well, the first time I heard this next line, my lips were moving. I'm sure somebody else has said it because it just makes so much sense. But the first time I heard it, my lips were moving. So I'm not claiming originality from it. But you can't be a victim and be grateful at the same time.
Oh, that's good.
You can't be a victim and be grateful at the same time. And I'll tell you a story. When I was in the bank stock business, my partner had a little Yorkshire Terrier. And we called him, his name was Paxton, but we called him Bear. And he went everywhere with us. We went on the road, he went with us and everything else. Well, one day they were near a pond and he heard the dog choking. And he ran over and he picked him up and there was a fish line coming out of the dog's mouth. The dog literally had swallowed a fish hook. At that point, Brad had the sense of praise to praise the situation. He said, "Dear Lord, I want to thank you for this. I don't know what good's going to come out of it, but I give you praise right now. I offer this up to you. Thank you, Lord." At that moment, the fish wire popped out of the dog's mouth. I know if he would have condemned it, if he would have felt negative, if he had freaked out, the dog would have tightened up and reacted and would have let the fish wire clog out. But because he praised it, because he relaxed at that time, the dog relaxed and the fish wire popped out of the dog's mouth. So understanding the power of praise will cause miracles in your life.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, wonderful couple, for coming on and sharing today. You guys are phenomenal. Keep making it happen. Thank you for coming on, Susan and Phil Sorentino. We're going to end with some sponsors, but thank you for coming on and being my guest on today. Be encouraged and keep making it happen.
Thanks for doing what you do. You truly make a difference out there. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. All right. We're going to turn it over to our sponsors. You guys just hold on and we'll be back. And I am Dolores Williams with Divine Connections. Make sure you stay connected to the number one divine connector, which is Jesus Christ. Hold tight. I Give You Peace Ministries is on a mission with an awesome purpose, led by Pastor Peace. Their mission is to raise funds to build a multi-purpose building, which will include a state-of-the-art facility for youth in the community, a senior program that will include various activities, and it will also include a kitchen to provide meals to the community. Support the building fundraiser today. Donate to Cash App $Walk of Peace or paypal.me/IGYP Ministries.
Hey, we've got exciting news from Divine Connections Marketing Services. Now you can create your own custom video commercial for your business or organization. It's time for you to win. Your product or service is someone's solution, so get the attention of your potential customers now. Choose from a 30 or 60-second commercial today. Just email us at divineconnectionsmagazine@gmail.com and we can get started. Connect today and let's get started making your custom video commercial now. Divine Connections Magazine. Get major exposure for your business. Is someone looking for your service? Do you need networking? Are you a gospel artist or a ministry? Do you have a major event that you want to promote? Divine Connections Magazine has the solution for you. We can distribute to residents, businesses, churches, and online. Don't miss this opportunity to expand your marketing locally and around the world. Find out more about us at divineconnectionsmagazine.com. Get your spot in the next issue of Divine Connections Magazine by emailing us for details at divineconnectionsmagazine@gmail.com.
Make sure to like us on Facebook at Divine Connections Marketing. Follow us on Instagram at Divine Connections.
Let's get it started now.